Hi everyone, it's Plastic EP. Let me tell you, it's a brand new show. It's episode number one of a music show called Music Revolution. We're here to bring it all to you. I've got my co-host Andrew Soos coming in from Melbourne as well. How are you today, Andrew?
Wonderful to join you both today. Fantastic.
Now we've got a very special guest, and believe me, Gary Astridge is a fantastic drum knowledge historian. He's Ringo's, I'd say, right hand man when it comes to drums, because you know everything about drums and his history there, Gary. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see you both. Yeah.
Now, Gary, you're doing a fantastic exhibition, right, called Beads and Threads in Nashville. We're going to get into that, but just behind me, if you see, we've got Ringo's brand new album there called Look Up. Now, I've got to tell you, everybody in the world, don't wait. Just go and buy the album on CD or vinyl. I've listened to it for the past couple of weeks, and I just love it. It's got some fantastic tracks there. You know, Breathless stands out. Look Up stands out. So many songs, and I mean, his roots are country, aren't they, Gary? From all the Beatles songs, all you got to do is act naturally.
Exactly. Exactly. And Ringo is so excited. I've never seen him so happy. And with the time that we spent in Nashville, in January at the Ryman Auditorium, he did two shows. He was like a little kid. And when he was there, Emmylou Harris invited him, to the Grand Ole Opry. For me, not being a country guy, though I like country music, I was amazed to hear by the people down there. He said, "You know what? This is big. That's really being invited into the country family." And to me, I was laughing a little, thinking it was described to me almost like, "All right, you're invited into the mob, and once you're in, you can't get out." But it is a big deal. Ringo was at the Grand Ole Opry behind backstage. He was I've never seen him so happy and giddy. And I was just so proud and happy for him. And he just absorbed the moment and the love that he was given when he was backstage, when he was on stage, was, you could feel it. And it was very emotional for me too. I was so proud and happy for him.
I got to say, that made national news. We saw that when he was at the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. There's one thing I wanted to mention so I don't lose this thought. There was a person on before Ringo went on stage at the Grand Ole Opry, and it was a woman named Mickey Guyton, Guyton. And she sang a Ringo song, a song that Ringo wrote in 1976 called "You Don't Know Me at All." And it's on the Rotogravure album. I suggest you listen to it. Her version is coming out March 10th. She has an album coming out, but I'm bringing it up because it was so special. She does the song and she makes it her own. It's slower, but it was so powerful. I'm listening to it and I start crying. And I thought, oh, how embarrassing. And as I'm wiping the tears from my eyes, I start hearing people in front of me sniffling. And then I'm looking around and other people are crying. And it was something about that song. So when I was bouncing between sitting in the audience and going backstage during the whole performance that evening. And when I went backstage, I mentioned to one of Ringo's friends, I said, I couldn't believe that song. You wouldn't believe the reaction that people were having to it. And my friend said, Ringo said it was at a time in his life where he was in a dark place, I guess drinking and things. He said, he doesn't even remember writing this song. I go, are you serious? And it was just amazing to me. And I'm waiting for that album to come out because it's a song I know is going to hit home again when I hear it.
Isn't it beautiful, Gary, how music can affect and stir you in that way? And can I say, the Grand Ole Opry, I would say it's more like going to Mecca. For someone like me who
Yeah.
loves country music, banjo player myself, I remember listening to Ringo Starr on the Help album 1963, act naturally. And that really was my first way of dipping my toe into country music. And then, of course, Buku of Blues in 1970, which had a bit of a country feel to it as well. But it's been a
Exactly.
bit of a long spell between drinks till we've heard Ringo really wear the flag, I think, and fly the country flag again.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And you know what? I had no expectations when I went to the Grand Ole Opry, and it's very wholesome. All the people there were they're just so Southern U.S., very polite and respectful, and the entertainment was superb. It was like the sound system, the seating. They were like church pews that you're sitting in, but they're cushioned seats, and it was just a very very nice experience. And it was interesting with everyone that performed before Ringo, the majority of them, they all every performance was like three songs. And the first performers was a group that's been together for over 60 years and dressed up in outlandish, like, Southern, country Western garb and clothing. And the one song they did that I put a big smile on everyone's face was the song Ringo. And
Yeah.
the harmonies were just superb. But the other acts that came on, most of them chose to do a Beatles song. So they did Help, they did In My Life, and it was very nice. They were all very nice takes. So just the whole evening was just it was just awesome. And then Ringo was the climax at the end, and it was just so powerful. I wish there was a way that everyone could have been in that audience to see it live. It was just phenomenal.
Harry, I know that with that style of Southern music, the motto is always honor thy music. Is that a good way of talking about Ringo as well?
I would say so. And it was funny for me. I was backstage and I was just trying to stay out of everyone's way. And one of Ringo's people came back and said, Gary, he goes, there's some people here that want to talk to you. And I go, okay. And so because they knew the exhibit was happening, they knew about the book, Beats and Threads. So here, these are like Nashville musicians who are honed in their craft. And I didn't know them, uh, but they were asking me all kinds of questions about Ringo. And as I'm telling them or answering their questions, they're hanging on every word. And it just made me smile because it just shows you how the Beatles and Ringo just touches all spectrums of music. And it was just a great experience for me too, to meet these people.
Oh, I understand Alison Krauss is on
Mhm.
the new album as well. I was very excited to find that out. I was just wondering if maybe she's not available next time. Maybe if I get the call here in Australia.
You never know. You
Never
never
know.
know. Yeah.
He's a banjo player. That's why he's into banjo. Now, I've got to ask you, Gary, this
Yeah.
new exhibition that you've organised, right? Beats and Threads. Tell everybody more about it, and it's running until the end of the year. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Well, it starts with the idea that came about uh, a few years ago about me writing a book with Ringo, and we landed up doing it. It's a book called Beats and Threads, and I was giving free rein as far as what went in the book and when this what period of time to start it at, and from Ringo's life and where to end it. So for me, I just said my comfort zone is from his childhood to the end of his Beatles career. I go, that's my sweet spot. And so I did that. And what the book covers is, Ringo's childhood is from his very first drum all the way through to his rooftop kit or maple kit. And and on the threads portion of the book, I was a little uncomfortable at first because I said, I don't, other than knowing when, Ringo wore certain clothing, during the Beatles' career, I'm not a clothing person. And I was, made to feel very comfortable. It was like, Gary, we've got everything archived, we got everything documented. And as far as any additional research, if you want to know about the designers or the tailors, Julian's auction house has a team of people that will go in and do all that for you. You just tell them what you're looking for. They'll find it. They'll give it to you. They'll give you the information, and you just take it all, put it in the right, areas of the book, and write it yourself to make it your own. So they made it very, very easy for me to do. So um, there's one story I have to tell you that Ringo and I was given full access to him, full access to his drum kits, which I had anyway. But then, everything else was just at my fingertips. And I was told later, and it surprised me because I was so involved in the book, but it was like, Gare, this book is in the 0.01 percentile of a book done with a Beatle. Like this, it just doesn't happen. My relationship with Ringo is very special because, to have his trust, it's hard to get. And I have it, and he loves me, and I love him, and he respects me, and if he were here right now, and if you asked him something about his drum kits, he would laugh or just point at me and say, "Ask him. He knows. I don't." So it's just it's a very special relationship, and I wish there was some way for all the Beatles and Ringo's fans out there, could feel what I feel in my heart, because he is just a beautiful human being, and the things he does for me time and time again, it just it's off the charts. And when I did the book, when it was finished, I thought there's nothing else I could possibly do. I think I've run out of gas. I've done so many things for him over the 13 years I've been with him. And then it was, hey, we got all this stuff going on in Nashville, and what happened was after we did the Ryman in January, it was like a week later, there was this germinated thought of, hey, why don't we do an exhibit at the Musicians Hall of Fame in Nashville? Ringo's going to be coming back in February. How cool would that be? And they said, yeah, we could do something on the book. And I thought, well, that would be great. And then it was, well, let's do it. Gary, come up with a list of things we could exhibit, and we got to get this done in less than a month. So it was very stressful, when you're trying to line up what items you're going to have, insurance coverage, which was huge, and to build a facility inside the museum, to house this, and everything had to be under certain specifications for humidity, temperature control, like light rays coming through the plexiglass so it doesn't affect the contents, the security cameras, blah, blah, blah. So, but we got it all done. And then when Ringo came in, he's just so happy. And so it worked out well. So we had the ribbon cutting on a last Wednesday, and then Friday, boom, he's at the Grand Ole Opry, and it was just fantastic.
Now, Gary, I've got to ask you regarding some of these items, because the fantastic thing is there's new fans coming in, new generations of fans that don't identify with these items. I'll give you an example. You've got the coat there, the red coat that Ringo wore on the rooftop. Now, a lot of people don't know. It was very cold that day when they filmed it on top of the Apple building, and Ringo asked Maureen for the red jacket. Now, no one knows that red jacket belongs to Maureen, but because it's so cold, Ringo wore it. Now, when you watch it on the video, no one knows that. I mean, it looks like Ringo's got that jacket, and that's his jacket, and he's wearing it, and he stands out in the red. So that's why these stories that you know about these items, go through some of these items, what you know about them that are being exhibited.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just told the story there, and the other little footnote is Ringo even has the red pants that came with the red rain coat. So, but then you have that red military jacket that Ringo wore on the Strawberry Fields promo film, and that wasn't special made. That was actually owned by some military person, and that's what Ringo used. And we have his crosswalk jacket there. We have a pair of his Beatle boots. We have the clothing that he wore, like on the Magical Mystery Tour, like that poncho with the orange corduroy pants. So a lot of cool stuff, and then some documents too. We have this itinerary that came from NEMS, from Brian's office, and it was their weekly schedule. And what was interesting about that is that it's dated the 19th of August, 1962, and so that's the schedule for the week. And the 18th, the day before, is Ringo's first day as a Beatle. So that's kind of cool and historic. There's a letter from Rory Storm to Ringo, and you have to remember back at that time that's how they communicated. So, Rory sends a letter to Ringo and basically says, talking about some opportunities they had for playing, and they just said, "Hey, we have the chance to play Wednesday at the Jive Hive. I've got your cymbals, you bring your snare and other drums, and I'll pay you for what we did at the Cavern the day before." So all those little things that are just like so cool. And when Ringo first saw them, it was interesting that he didn't even know he had them. His mom passed away, and Ringo had all of her things just put in boxes, and he never had the time to go through them. And when he did, he found that she had this collection of all of these like newspaper clippings and things, that she kept of her son. And so he was just so touched to see that she had all this stuff. And it's just it just goes on and on and on and on with such cool information that has been saved, for history.
Gary, how did Ringo come into your life?
Uh, in in 2012, I got a call from the Grammy Museum in Los Angeles. And this person called me, and I thought it was a joke because I'm in my office, I have a business, and then when a person calls saying they're from the Grammy Museum and says, they just signed a contract with Ringo and his wife Barbara to do an exhibit on Ringo's life, I thought, okay, this doesn't make sense, but it was real. And the person said that the exhibit was going to be called Ringo, Peace and Love, and the reason I was getting called was because they specifically asked Ringo if they could have the drum set that he used on the Ed Sullivan Show and the drum set that he used on the Rooftop to symbolize the beginning and end of his Beatles career. And Ringo said, yeah, of course. So when the Grammy Museum contacted Ringo's people in London for the items, they said, we have drums here, but nothing's documented. We have no idea what to send you. We don't even know what drum goes with what drum to make the proper kit. So we don't know how to proceed. So the Grammy Museum just started doing Google searches, and all I kept finding was a website that I had called, RingosBeatleKits.com. And my background was from childhood. After seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, I loved the Beatles, loved Ringo, and I taught myself to play drums. And then I started collecting drums because I wanted a drum set like Ringo had. And I learned that he had more than one kit. So over the decades, I amassed a collection of all the drums, all authentic to the same time period. So I had everything, and it was my wheelhouse. And so when I accepted to be involved in this Grammy Museum exhibit, I said, the drums, these drums are everything's missing. There's no front drum heads. There's no cymbal stands. There's no cymbals. And we found a lot of it after, over the years. But I said, you can't just put these on display and say, well, folks, here's what's left. So I said, I have an idea. I have what you would need to make these drum kits whole. If you would allow me to do it, I mean, I can. I go, it's Ringo, it's the Beatles. So they said yes, and I did it. Ringo liked it, and from that, the short story is, he asked if I would go through everything he had and bring his other drum kits back to life. And so Ringo used 6 drum kits during his career with the Beatles, and he still had 5 at the time when I got involved. And so I managed to bring all 5 back. He was happy, I was happy, and I just thought I did my part in saving these items for the world, because his maple kit was in such bad condition. If timing was any different, and if I didn't get involved, that his maple kit wouldn't be here today. So yeah, so it's all good stuff, and that's how my role started with Ringo. one thing, since I have it here, I feel is this is the book. This is the
Yeah.
book, Beats and Threads, and it's heavy. And it's like 7 pounds. We sold out more being printed now, but it's doing very well. And all the money raised goes, after expenses, is going to Ringo and Barbara's Lotus Foundation charity. And Ringo and Barbara are very philanthropic, helping people. And the cool thing that I know is they know that they were blessed in their lifetime, and they want to do things for people while they're here and while they're not here. So, the money that's generated goes into Lotus Foundation, and it'll help perpetually fund to keep to do good for people long after they're gone, and that's a cool thing.
You've learned so much in Australia of Ringo simply through the music. He didn't come out to Australia, I don't believe, when the Beatles toured. And it's been decades and decades, and I've not seen any word of him ever coming to Australia. Do you see any possibility we might see the great man?
You know what? You never know. I know he's already has plans for this year for a summer and a fall tour. He always surprises me. So you never know. And all I can tell you is this year he's got another busy year. It's his 85th birthday, right? And July 7th, we'll be celebrating in Beverly Hills, where he has a large peace hand, 8.5 foot tall. And it's been something we've been doing every year. And another thing I've been involved with for Ringo, I might as well mention this, is Ringo's very serious about peace and love. And maybe it was about 5 years ago now, he donated a hand to Los Angeles. So it's this large stainless steel hand made from a casting of his hand. And Ringo said, wouldn't it be cool, because if we had a small number of parks around the world where, the hand would be the focal point, and there'd be a place where people could congregate, meditate, just to have some special peaceful time together with other human beings. And he just went on with some ideas. So I took that, and now I'm trying to promote his idea around the world, looking for places. So I'm talking to Liverpool. In fact, I'm sending a fiberglass hand out to Liverpool within the next 2 weeks. So it'll be there for his birthday, but they're not supposed to know. And we have one that'll be placed in Indianapolis, Indiana, but we're open. So if anyone is interested in the possibility of having a hand, go to ringopeaceandlove.com and contact me, and we'll see what we can do to make it happen. But for me, it is just an honor to be involved in this, and to be able to do this while he's still with us. I think it's just like the coolest thing. And if somebody does buy a steel hand for their location, and if we can make this happen, Ringo will come. He would be there for the ribbon cutting. So that's something extra special. So keep that in mind, folks.
And you can tell him, right? You tell him. You say, I just did an interview with Plastic EP, and show him once I send it to you if you want. If he does an album with Paul and just calls it Paul and Ringo, it's got nothing to do with the Beatles. It really has got nothing to do with the Beatles. It's just the two guys just saying hello to the world. Do you know what I mean? That's how I look at it now in the career. The Beatles are like, that's going to stay forever. That's intact. Whatever they do now is a new chapter. Would you agree with that? Oh
yeah, for sure. There's so many things. When we were at the Ryman, I brought one of the large fiberglass statues, so I had it there. And then so with the two shows, it was like an hour before the show, at intermission, and then after the show, I was with the hand, and I would take pictures of people. I said, "Give me your phone. I'll get a photo with you." I had friends started videotaping and photographing me doing that, and all said and done, had to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. But there was one woman. They're coming at me from all directions. Here, Gary, get my picture. So nobody's like in a focused line, but this one woman comes up, and she's, I go to take her picture, and she's got her daughter with her. She goes up to the hand, everything's normal. She smiles. I take the picture. someone's asking me, to take theirs, and I lose focus a little bit, and all of a sudden I go back to give the woman her camera, and she's hugging this statue, and she's crying, and she's happy, and just the look on her face, the way it happened in the moment, I start crying. And then I look around, and it was just like at the Grand Ole Opry. Other people, there was just something happened where everyone was happy, but they were crying because she just starts saying, "I just love him so much, and this is the closest I'm ever going to get." And I was like, wow, But so with that, I know I'm blessed. But that being said, I'm also blessed because I get to meet people like you. And even though, Andrew, we just met, I know this guy up here, and I see him with all he does. I love your passion because it's real.
Yeah.
And we have that in common.
I want to thank Gary Astridge for being on our first episode of Music Revolution. And I just want to say, I want everyone to go out there and buy Ringo's new album. It's on CD and vinyl. It's out now. Look up. If you go to YouTube, you'll see all these fantastic video clips. And I want to tell you sincerely from my heart and everyone here, Ringo, we love you. The world loves you. Not only does Australia love you, every part of the world loves you. And it's like every day you bring happiness to the world. And we just want to thank you for everything. And sincerely, this album you've done went to #1. The world embraced you. And that's because they truly love you.
Lovely to meet you, Gary, and thank you for your passion and sharing a little bit about the man who's been so much a part of our lives as well, through the music with the Beatles, through his renaissance again with country music, and of course, who can forget Thomas the Tank Engine and the joy that he's brought to children as well.
Right. Well, thank you both. I really appreciate your time and for inviting me on this first show. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.